someone I don't like. It's not like I'm losing my life. I've already gotten a great deal. Perseus listened in silence. What he said to Jerome before, while quite insightful, is not applicable to the values of this era. Others may find what you're saying very reasonable, but they may not agree with it. Especially those who are kind-hearted, principled, and have been instilled with a strong sense of responsibility and mission from childhood. Miri Farah is an angel. How could he possibly get this angel to abandon the values he had cultivated over the past 20 years and become a lone wolf like him? Someone who was seen as selfish and only lived for himself. It's so hard to make a change. However, it seems that no change is needed. Your Highness Mirafara, do you yourself believe that this marriage alliance is very important to your country and your people, something you have to do no matter how unwilling you are to do it? Perseus asked. Yes, Mellifera said. I know that marriage alliances have many benefits, Perseus said. If your spouse is a prince of a country, your homeland will not face the crisis of war with that country for at least the next few decades. The two countries will live in harmony, trade with each other, and help each other. All of this is very good. It's good that you understand, Mellifera said. I told you that our kingdom of Infero is not in a good situation. A country like ours can only seek support through marriage alliances. Otherwise, let alone development and prosperity, we will not only be at risk of being attacked from both sides, but may even lead to the destruction of the country and the extinction of countless people. Miri Farah closed her eyes. I know you care about me and don't want me to sacrifice myself for others, but this is a serious matter, and I really can't act recklessly. So, Your Highness Mirafara, is this marriage really that important to you? I've already said that. Then your marriage partner is no longer important to you, is he? Seeing Perseus's smiling face, Mirafara remained silent. Of course it's not important. As long as both parties reach an agreement and their interests align, she has no choice but to marry the other person, regardless of their height, weight, or appearance. In other words, it doesn't matter who you marry, as long as they can support and protect your country and make your homeland prosperous and strong. Perseus asked. Yes, it doesn't matter, Mellifera said indifferently, her heart filled with despair. Therefore, I hereby formally propose. Perseus naturally put his arm around Mirafara's shoulder. Your Highness Mirafara, please marry me. Chapter 107, Cruel Rejection. Upon hearing Perseus's sudden and bold statement, Mirafara was completely stunned, standing motionless like a wooden statue, not even blinking, her beautiful big eyes wide open. Princess Mellifera? Princess Mellifera. Perseus called her name several times, but she didn't respond. However, even the most shocking things can't help but make people blink. Mellifera's eyes finally stung, and she blinked uncontrollably before her consciousness suddenly returned. But the return wasn't complete at first. What do you think of my proposal? Perseus asked earnestly. I think. Mirafara glanced at Perseus's hand still resting on her shoulder. I think. Do you need me to let go of your hand? Perseus asked. No, there's no need for that. Mirafara blurted out. This is what she felt. Compared to what he just mentioned, simply putting an arm around someone's shoulder is really a trivial matter, and doesn't feel so bad. Are you serious, Perseus? Mellifera asked. Of course I'm serious. So, what made you think that way? Because I want to find a solution that satisfies both your people and your desire to marry a man you don't like. Perseus said, so that you don't have to fail your people, but also so that you don't have to marry a man you don't like against your will. It is indeed the best of both worlds. Mirafara had to think that way. However, she still had many questions to ask about this. However, she couldn't quite bring herself to ask. I know you must have many questions about this, such as, if you really marry me, what benefits can I bring to your country? For example, if I say that marrying me means marrying a man you don't like, do I think you like me? Okay, he asked all the questions himself. Mirafara remained silent, her head bowed, refusing to look at him. May I answer your questions? Perseus asked. Go ahead and say it, Mellifera said softly. Generally speaking, if you marry a prince from a certain country, your homeland will receive the following benefits. First, smooth trade will allow each side to get what it needs and exchange goods, which will strengthen your country's national power and make your people rich and well off. Second, military aid. Even if no formal military agreement has been signed, if your country is invaded by a foreign enemy, you, as the crown princess or queen of a country, will usually be more likely to get your wish. Third, The natural alliances between nations that exist outside of the law make those countries with ulterior motives wary and dare not easily harm you. I have to admit, I can't give you any of these things. Miri Farah listened quietly, remaining silent. However, given Infero's current situation, no matter which kingdom in the entire Western continent you marry, they still can't provide these things. One sentence left Mellifera stunned, and she couldn't help but look up at him. You don't believe me? Perseus smiled. Miri Farah stared intently at him. He knew she didn't believe him. Firstly, Perseus said, the kingdom of Infero is not rich in resources and relies heavily on foreign goods and resources. Its own products rarely appear on foreign markets. Even if trade is smooth, it is difficult for the country's national strength and the wealth of its citizens to see significant growth. It is true that the people do not have to worry about food and clothing, but they will still worry about other things. Miri Farah was speechless. She knew her country's situation all too well and knew that Perseus was telling the truth. For a long time, the kingdom of Infero's grain production was only enough for its own consumption. Natural resources such as iron, ore, and coal cannot be sold to foreign countries, and we have to spend a lot of money to import them from abroad every year. The money needed to purchase foreign goods was, of course, obtained by selling grain and other agricultural products. There was barely enough food to eat, but people had to sell some of it, so of course people's lives became very difficult. If it weren't for the fact that the white magic crystal, or produced by the kingdom of Infero, was a highly sought-after commodity that made up for this loss, the kingdom of Infero would have perished long ago. However, although the white magic crystal ore is precious, its annual output is not high. Moreover, because they have long relied heavily on foreign countries for other commodities and resources, they do not have the power to set prices for these products. Thus, the kingdom of Infero remained in a predicament where it neither starved nor became wealthy or powerful. The inherent weaknesses of the nation are there, and unless they can be fundamentally resolved, no amount of marriage alliances will help. If the first point is merely an economic issue, then the second and third points directly concern the life and death of the kingdom of Infero. To that, I can only say two words. Empire. Miri Farah's eyelids twitched violently, and she unconsciously gripped the hem of her skirt, the veins on the back of her hand bulging. The tension in my body lasted only a few seconds before it relaxed weakly. Miri Farah gave a helpless, bitter smile. It turns out he knew everything. If the country that will invade the kingdom in the future is another country, then what Perseus just said might still work. But if it were an empire, let alone without establishing a military alliance, even if an alliance were formed, under the empire's immense pressure, that alliance would be nothing more than a worthless piece of paper that could be torn apart at any moment. There are precedents for this in the history of the kingdom of Infero. There were at least two instances where the kingdom formed so-called alliances of life and death with other countries. But when the imperial army pressed in and the kingdom was in dire straits, those countries that had previously been so righteous immediately disappeared. Not only did they not send a single soldier to help, they also secretly made peace with the empire and took advantage of the chaos. Both times, the kingdom of Infero was on the verge of destruction. In the end, it's hard to say whether it was due to the united will of the entire kingdom, which ultimately paid a heavy price to defeat the enemy, or simply good luck, as the situation took a turn for the better. In short, by a twist of fate, the kingdom of Infero has continued to this day. But good luck can only come once or twice, not 3 times. The empire is now stronger than ever before. Its ambition to destroy kingdoms and its desire to dominate the entire Western continent are so strong that they are almost unbearable to look at. Everyone can see it. In this situation, even if it's just a pretense of an alliance, no country would dare to establish one with the kingdom, right? This princess, who seems to have a noble status, might not even be accepted by any country, even if given away for free. How ironic. Her mother began grooming her as a tool for marriage when she was young. After various painful internal struggles, she gradually convinced herself to accept the marriage as her inescapable fate and smiled as she went through it. But no one expected things to turn out this way. However, her mother had long since become obsessive to the point of madness, burying her head in the sand and ignoring reality, forcibly pushing forward with her original plan without considering the consequences. She has been a puppet without her own control for a long time, and now she has no way to reverse the situation. She can only watch helplessly as the tragedy of her life unfolds. Even if some country were willing to accept her, so what? Even if you try everything, it's impossible to persuade those cowardly and scheming individuals to fight against a powerful empire. The best outcome for her would be to end her life in a cold, desolate palace in a foreign land, as an uncared-for reproductive tool in melancholy. The worst? She herself couldn't bear to think about it anymore. Looking back now, her life was already a tragedy, let alone pursuing self-realization or pursuing happiness. Even sacrificing oneself and one's happiness to become a tool for political alliances that could benefit the motherland is a pipe dream. Tears welled up in Miri Farah's eyes, but her face remained expressionless, though a subtle sense of relief lingered in her heart. The fact that she still had tears in her eyes indicates that she still harbored some resentment and struggled deep inside. When she runs out of tears, her life will be nothing but tragedy. But what could she do? Princess Mellifera, don't cry. Marry me, and you won't have any more troubles, Perseus said. Really? Miri Farah forced a smile, tears streaming down her face. Of course it's true, Perseus said. Then, for a long time, he didn't say anything. Why aren't you saying anything? Mellifera couldn't help but ask. She was in such a terrible state of mind that even if his declaration was just some unrealistic fantasy, she could accept it as long as it made her feel a little better. I'm sorry, I can't make any more promises to you right now, Perseus said, because I can't give you the support you want right now. Oh, I see, Mellifera said casually. It doesn't matter, I know. But could you give me some time? Perseus asked. Why do you need me to give you time? Mellifera forced a smile. Are you trying to say that you can't give me the support I want now, but you can in a while? Yes. Perseus nodded, gazing intently at her. Impossible, right? Mellifera laughed. Who could do such a thing? The support she needs is a powerful force strong enough to rival the Empire. Who in the entire world can give this kind of power? Perhaps such a force truly exists in this world. But if someone doesn't have it now, it's unlikely they'll have it in the future. She can give him time, but the kingdom cannot provide that. In as little as 3 or 5 years, the catastrophic disaster will be upon us. If I say I can do it, would you be willing to try to believe me? Perseus simply asked. I do, Mellifera said without hesitation. She didn't actually believe it, but she chose to believe it, even if it's just wishful thinking. Rather than accepting that bleak and tragic ending now, she would rather struggle a little longer. As long as there is even a glimmer of hope, she can convince herself to persevere. Even if she ultimately cannot escape some predetermined ending, at least for now, her heart is still soft and warm. It's still beating. Isn't this the only thing that makes her happy? As long as you trust him, you can continue to have these things for a while. What a great deal. Perseus, can you kiss me? Mellifera smiled. I've heard this atmosphere is perfect for a kiss. She longed to feel loved a little more. Perseus smiled and shook his head. Mellifera was a little disappointed, but it didn't really matter. In any case, both that glimmer of hope and that feeling of being loved are illusory. Perseus did not kiss her. Instead, he laughed and grabbed her face with both hands, forcing a very bright smile. Chapter 108, just one step away. Pain. Miri Farah was forced to smile, but her eyes were brimming with tears. That's good, Perseus smiled, because I'm punishing you. Punish? This was a completely unfamiliar term to Miri Farah. From a young age, she was a well-behaved and sensible child who was never naughty or willful, so her parents had no reason to punish her. This time, however, she was punished. Why? She couldn't help but ask. Because you don't believe me. Mellifera remained silent. She truly did not believe him. But should she really believe such an absurd thing? There's no reason? As she thought about it, Mellifera felt wronged and almost burst into tears. Fortunately, Perseus knew when to stop and let go in time. Miri Farah rubbed her hot face and glared at Perseus with displeasure. She had never been treated so roughly before. I'm sorry, Your Highness Miri Farah. I think I went too far, Perseus said. It's okay, it doesn't hurt much. Even if she was a little dissatisfied, she couldn't get angry over such a small thing. So, she could only let it go. I really hope you can believe me, Perseus said. I really want to believe you, but Mellifera smiled bitterly. She wasn't questioning Perseus's abilities. She simply felt it was impossible, and anyone in the same situation would have done the same, so there was no need for serious discussion. It's enough that you're willing to believe me, Perseus said. Even if you can't believe me right now, that's okay. I will try my best to prove myself to you. How will you prove it? Mellifera asked. I'm sorry, I can't say that right now. Oh, She didn't want to ask any further questions. She is feeling very down right now, and many things seem meaningless to her. However, it's still better than before. Thanks to Perseus's actions, although his face was still a little sore, he felt better.